Good afternoon or good morning or good evening wherever you're joining us today from. Welcome to one more webinar from Progress India. We do these webinars almost every Thursday of the month, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. India Standard Time, and we try to cover generic developer topics plus Telerik Progress topics. So today we're going to be looking at um, how to digitally transform your content management site using the content management site being our own product, Progress Sitefinity. The Sitefinity is a content management system. So if you have a website using Sitefinity, how can you build mobile apps for that? So not only just mobile app, it's a native Android, native iOS mobile apps using Sitefinity and NativeScript. So that's the whole plot for the webinar today. So you have a content management system, it's Sitefinity, and then you want to convert that into a native mobile apps, and you want to use NativeScript. So that's what we're going to take a look at today. So as you can see here, I have our website. So by the way, I don't have any decks for today, so I'm trying to do most of these things without a slide deck. I don't want to do the death by PPT, so I'm going to just spend maybe 15 minutes on these theoretical aspects, and then we'll get going on to the practical aspects. So Sitefinity is our content management system. Plus, it's two to three things within itself. We broadly classify this product, the Sitefinity, Progress Sitefinity, as a content management system, but in itself, it's actually a bit of e-commerce, a bit of content management, a bit of digital marketing also. So if you go and then take a look at the products here, you will see here we have under web content management, what you can do with our web content management system. You can do the content management as we call it. So any sort of web content, be it a paragraph of text, maybe an image, or maybe a PDF, or maybe a Word document, or maybe a video. Yeah, those are all contents. So how can you manage them, right? With content management system, what happens is each piece of these is treated as content, and then there's a history maintained, who uploaded it, who changed the metadata, all those kind of things. We let you manage it. So basically digital assets like, as I said, video, all those things. We also give you a couple of things like, on the fly form builders, SEO tools, and decision support. So all these things can be done. Plus you can also do experience management. So this is the biggest factor in nowadays in any e-commerce or in any customer related sites. For example, you are a banking site, you want to increase the retention of your users coming to your banking website. You are an insurance website, you want people to come more to your website and then take a look at your content. So these are all experience. So what kind of experience can you give on the website? If I am coming and then browsing for, let's say, a home loan on a insurance or a insurance portal, if you can somehow identify that I'm so and so guy, I've already purchased a home loan, and then you are now coming out with a car loan, like so if you target me and then keep showing me the home loan based advertisement, well, I'm not going to like it, because well, I already bought the home loan. So what can entice me is if you come in and say, hey, we have a two-wheeler new insurance plan, or we have a four-wheeler new insurance plan, this is how much you save. Yeah, so that's so I bought my house, probably I'm going to go and then buy a car next, or buy a two-wheeler, whatever it is. So that's what experience management is all about, understanding who the customer is, who the user who's on my website. So we let you do that. We let you personalize that. For example, if people are coming from, let's say, US, you want to say, hey, happy Thanksgiving Day. Like, I think it's Thanksgiving in US now. So if I'm coming from India, and I don't typically do a Thanksgiving Day, right? So it doesn't make sense for me. So yeah, that's personalization. You understanding who's the user, where is he coming from. If he's coming from US, well, let's flash happy Thanksgiving Day. If he's coming from India, maybe we'll say happy Diwali in the Diwali time of the day, right? So those kind of things are personalization. We let you do that. And then email marketing. So within this system, we do have this email marketing where you can do a A/B testing of the emails, which email works better, who opened what email, all those things, the mobile, social media, analytics. If you have any analytics service, like, you have a Google Analytics kind of a account with you, you can always plug in that Google Analytics, and then we will let you watch your analytics, play around with your analytics right here within the CMS. You do not have to leave the CMS and go to Google Analytics and then do that. No, we can do it right here within the CMS. And digital commerce, we do have a commerce piece to this content management system. If you want to quickly build a front-end store, not a big chassis, so this is not a full-fledged e-commerce, but it has all the flavors that you need for an e-commerce system. For example, catalog, the multiple storefronts, targeted offers, payment processing, order management. Yeah, typical what you need is all there. If you want to build a quick store, you can with the content management system that we have. And coming to the enterprises, like, big enterprises like Nestle, Tesco, so maybe they have multi-sites. So Nestle is one of our biggest customer, and Nestle's global websites are all running on Sitefinity. So what they have done is there's a core base Sitefinity installation, and then all their microsites are created using Sitefinity's multi-site capability. With that, what happens is, let's assume you have three microsites, or subsites, or microsites as we call it, and there is one global website like nestle.com, and then there's a Nestle.uk or Nestle slash India, Nestle slash I don't know what not. Let's assume that Nestle's VP, or the Nestle's director wants to send out a message to everybody. With our multi-site capability, you do not have to create the content 5 times. You create the content one time in the global or the parent site, and then say that all child sites will now be able to surface that particular content. So that's the multi-site capability that we give you. You can share content between the sites. Multilingual support, you are capable of transforming or translating your site's pages into whatever language you want. So there's no automatic translation, because we don't believe it's still there. You cannot just go and then get an automatic translator and then say translate the whole page. There are various situation wherein the translator has got it wrong because it doesn't understand the context. All it goes by is word to word matching, what word in English equal to what word in Spanish. That's what it does. But what we allow you to do is, you are in charge of the translation. You translate it, and then you publish the translated page, and you add a language called Spanish or Japanese to your website, and then in the front end, in the portal, the user can just switch language by a drop down, and if the page had that particular language content, we will surface that out. So that's as easy as it can get with the multilingual support. We also have the site synchronization deployment options, wherein you can sync between your dev to UAT to production. So you can just do a button click, and then it will do the site syncing, as we call it. Plus, coming to the integrations, we can integrate with predominantly major players like Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics CRM, Marketo, SharePoint. So we have connectors. That means that Sitefinity as a CMS can be the front end, but your data is still residing in Salesforce. Your data is still residing in Dynamics CRM. You want to build a nice looking portal, yeah, you can put Sitefinity in the front end, and using the connector, you can make sure the data goes back and forth between your whatever data store you have. Plus, the whole Sitefinity itself is built on ASP.NET. The underpinning of Sitefinity is ASP.NET. It's a simple ASP.NET application, and if you are coming from the ASP.NET background, this is going to feel native to you because there's nothing new. It's all the same ASP.NET concepts that you have. So we have the MVC support, we have the Ajax support, you can program this with the Visual Studio and API. So that's the biggest thing for me. Whenever I look at a system, I go look for the API. How extensive is the API? Can I do everything using an API? So in our case, yes, everything is an API in the sense, if you want to write a custom code, well, we have the API for you, so you can go customize whatever you want. You can listen for the events within Sitefinity system, react to those events, or create your own custom widget. All those things are available out of the box. Sitefinity gives you a lot of widgets. If you want to write your own widget, well, you can always do your own widgets and then do stuff. So this is just a quick overview of what Sitefinity is all about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can test drive Sitefinity without installing Sitefinity? So let me see if there are any questions so far. I think we are good. So what you can do is in the website where I am, sitefinity.com, there is this big button called as Try Now. So if you click on Try Now, what it does is it allows you two modes of trial. One is downloading the trial, meaning you are a developer, you want to take a look at the source code, you want to do something with the source code. So that's when you go with this box which says download trial, recommended for developers, and we will provide a Sitefinity project navigator, project builder. So you do file new and then it will create these Sitefinity projects, and then you open that in Visual Studio and then you take control of that. Whereas let's assume that you're a business user and you want to just quickly figure out what are the features available as part of creating a page, creating a template, creating a custom module. Yeah, so that's what this is for you, online sandbox. So recommended for business users. Within 5 minutes we set up a Sitefinity instance for you and then you can start get going. So what I've done is, in the interest of the time, I've already signed up for my online sandbox. Once you sign up for the online sandbox, we give you a very specific URL to your sandbox, and your sandbox will have a user ID and your sandbox will have a password. So what I've done is, my sandbox URL is here. So let me open up. So this is the back end. I'm going to open up the front end. So this URL that you're seeing here, which says site 17122 whatever, big number, yeah, that's my sandbox. And in my sandbox, what I've done is, the moment you go and then say, I want to try this sandbox, we build a out of the box, a website called as Quantum. So Quantum is a fictitious trade house. It sells laptops, desktop accessories, all those things. So Quantum as a company has its own, services. It has the e-commerce piece to it, and then also news, events, all those things. So if you see here in the services section, we have they do development and marketing. So if I click on development, well, this is how the page looks like. This is the development page, stages of so some information or some content that they want to showcase in the website. So yeah, this is all built drag and drop. And if I take a look at the marketing, so marketing is going to be pretty similar, and that's what it is. And then here is inside Quantum, so there is a news section, so I can go to the news section. So there are a couple of news items that they have already put up, poll or pop-ups here to stay, Google Fonts, Quantum brings some news items that are there. And they also have downloads. So basically if you take a look at here, some of the brochures like buyers, CMS buyers guide kit, top 100 digital agencies in the UK, ASP.NET MVC Insight, some downloads they have kept. And if you take a look at the blog, so Quantum also maintains a blog, right? So that's what it is. So if you take a look at the blog, couple of blog items are there. And here it is. So a couple of blog items, as you can see here. These are all content management system provided. So products is where this is the e-commerce piece that I was talking about. So we have a Quantum shop where they sell accessories, books, software, website templates, marketing services. So those kind of things. You can get into one of these things, one of the products, and then take a look at it. Right, so this is all fine. So this is just the things that it allows you to from the front end. But how is the back end? Well, the back end is nothing but we call it as administration backend. So all you need to do is go to your whatever URL we gave you, just put Sitefinity at the end, and that's a very specific route or page that you can think. We have a route which goes to the back end. So the moment you have signed in, I've signed in as a system administrator, and I said Sitefinity, so this is the dashboard that I get. And notice here we have the pages. So if I go into the pages, whatever till now I showed you in the front end, well, everything has been done as a drag and drop. So let me quickly create a new page maybe just to show you how easy it is to create a new page. I'm going to name it as test page. And I want this to be at the top level, so I'll say show in navigation, so it's going to be at the top level. And I'm going to use the Quantum template, and description advanced, so you can do all the advanced things. So I'm going to go and then add content now. So this is how CMSs work. You add the content on the fly and you just publish it. So that's it. So here is the section where it says content, drag and drop widgets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a content block, and let's go back to Sitefinity here, and let's say we pick up content management as the page. So I'm going to just copy and then paste now. So take a look at this. I'm going to copy this as is, even with the image. I'll say copy, and I'm going to go back to my backend test page, and then I will say create content. So I dragged and dropped the content block. Now I'm adding a content into that, right? So now what I'm going to get is I'm going to get a nice looking editor, and inside this I can just paste. Oh, there you go. I even got the image as is. So I'm going to say save, and we have a nice looking content, right? So I'm going to say preview. Just before I publish it, I can take a look at the preview. Well, looks good. So this is the web content, easily create, blah blah blah. So that's fine. So I'm okay with that. Of course I can play around with the couple of alignment issues. Don't worry about that for now. I'm good to go. So I will say yes, let's publish this, right? Now I'm going to say publish, and I will go back to the home page here to make sure that I have that page coming up. So I'm going to go back to the home page, take a look at this. I'm here, and we have our test page. So let me click on the test page, and what you see, so whatever you published, it's going to come back as is. Well, this is the simplest example of what CMS can do. That's not the interest of for today. So the interest for today is, remember, we had something called as news, blogs, all those things. Well, out of the box, content management system or the Sitefinity will provide you this content types called as news. So what Quantum has done is it has enabled the news module, it has enabled the blogs module, and then it has gone ahead and then created a new news item. So if you see here, it says Quantum launches new business notebook published, right? So if I click on that, that's a blog post, the news. So if I click on the news item, I will be able to edit it. And there it is. So this is the Quantum's news title, and this is the Quantum's description, the summary. That's it. That's all it takes. So the related images is here. So that's what they have done. So let's go back to the news. So now what I want to do is so Quantum wants to create a native mobile application where they want to put all this stuff as a mobile application, that is news, events, blogs, everything. In the interest of the time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to showcase one scenario wherein Quantum publishes its news as a mobile app, right? So that's what the whole the use case for today's webinar is. Well, with the Sitefinity, what we have done is we have made it so easy to surface out this content that's created within the CMS by means of a RESTful API. Right, so today it's all about RESTful APIs. So what we have done is we have created web service concept, and notice here we already have a default locations, a Quantum mobile. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new web service, and I will say news service, and it says who can access the content by this service. Well, this is just a reading, right? So it's nobody can do anything with the news item, so they can just view the news. So I'm going to say, you know what, I don't care. So it's for everyone, and I'm going to select only the news item. So it says it has selected everything by default. I don't want to expose everything, so I will say so inside this I want only the news items, right? I'm going to say okay. So notice here it says API news service news items, right? So I'm going to I will say this service is active, and I will say create this service. Well, the web service endpoint, the RESTful web service endpoint is ready. So how do you test this, right? Remember the API, the way you can access the API was the route is API/news service/news item. So I'm going to use something called as Postman and come back here, and then I'm going to do HTTP get API/news service. That was the name I gave for the endpoint, news service /news items. So that's the news endpoint. and take a look at what happens now. So oh, I made a mistake, so let's track back what happened. Yeah, this is not what I was expecting, so there is an error. So let me see what the error is. Okay, let me go back to the news service. What name did I give? This is going to be APIs news service news item. So let me copy that, and I'm gonna come back here and then do this. Huh. So news service news item. So what is wrong? So let's go back here. Let me copy the domain correctly and let me paste it here. Yes, everything seems to be okay. I have no clue what's happening. The demo guards just are not happy with me. So let me take a look at my header. So I said content type, accept, yes, everything is fine. Huh. Okay, so I'm going to go back to one of the default things that I already have. So this is API default and news items. And there we go. So I'm not sure what mistake I've done. So I said everyone, URL name is news service, and it's going to be news items. Yeah, not sure. So I'll come back to this. So in the interest of the time, what I had already done was I created a default, or we created a default web service endpoint for you guys, and then it exposes all the content that we have. And here is the news item, API default news items. So if I do a HTTP GET on this, notice here I'm getting all the data coming back as a JSON data. So value, it's an array, and then I say ID, last update, last modify, last publication date, title, description, date created, URL name, blah blah blah. Everything is coming back, right? So uh, what we're going to do is we're going to use this web service and then create a native mobile app. I hope this is clear. So you can create any number of web services like what you want. For example, we have a custom module called as location. So in this endpoint, we have exposed only locations. If you see here, API location slash locations, API location slash albums, location slash images, so whatever is required for that. And we also have something called as quantum mobile, where we have exposed only 11 types like news items, blog posts, documents, classifications, images. So I could have made use of this, but I just wanted to show how do you create a web service. So we created a new web service, and here's another cool thing that we provide you. Once you create a web service, how do I use this in my code, right? So what you can do is you can click on this use in your app, and we will generate a nice looking documentation as to how to consume your endpoints. So in this case, I want to consume news items, right? So there you go. How do I get news items? Well, it is the root API default news items, and we will get back to you with all this information. So here is the response format we will send you. There's category, there is tags, the comments on the news items, and then here is the feature, all the other things that come back. And I can also do get news items by key. So I can do this. So let's do this. So I'm going to go and then copy this ID, and I will say news items ID this. So this is the OData protocol. I love the OData protocol very much because it's so simpler to work with. There you go. We got single item. If I want to show a single item, I got my single item, right? So we are kind of getting there. So not only that, if you notice here in the news items, I'm getting a lot of data which I don't need. So what I can do is, since this is OData, I can do select query here. I can say $select, and I can say ID. Then I need publication date. Then I need the title. Then I need description if it was there, and then I need summary, and let's take content also, maybe author and source name. Now what you will see is I'll get whatever I asked for. not I did not want that modified date, all those things. I just wanted this information, and I'm getting that information, and that's as cool as it can get with OData. That's why I like the OData protocol very much, because the power is in the hands of the consumer. The producer doesn't have to worry what you're going to look for or anything. I can come back here and then do that, something like this. So I can say order by dollar, sorry, ampersand dollar order by is equal to publication date descending. So I can do that, and there we go. So we're getting now the latest first, and then this one, so 2016-6, that's the latest one, and the previous one was 2016-5. So that's what it is. So you get the power to do certain things from your side instead of worrying it from the producer side. So now you understand the web service, you understand how do you use the web service, you understand how the data is coming from. What's left is to create the native mobile application. Let me introduce you, or if you already are aware of this, we have done a lot of webinars in the previous two. It's called as, we have a technology which is open source called as NativeScript. NativeScript allows you to build native Android, iOS applications, but with just Angular or TypeScript or JavaScript knowledge. If you know Angular 2, you can build native mobile apps. If you know TypeScript, you can build native mobile apps. If you know JavaScript, you can build native mobile apps. So that's what this the framework lets you do. With the NativeScript, what you do is you basically install it on your machine or your laptop or desktop or whatever it is. Today I am on a Windows machine as a host. So on a Windows machine, you can only build Android apps. You cannot build iOS app, because for iOS you need a Macintosh. If you have a Mac, what you can do is you can build both iOS as well as Android. And by next year, what we will do is we will also come out with Windows 10 support. That is, with the same source code, you will be able to build Android, iOS, and then Windows 10 UWP app, Universal Windows Platform apps. So one solution, one project, one team, they can build cross-platform native mobile application. This is better than the hybrid. I've been a hybrid advocate for a long time. I like hybrid. We have Kendo UI Mobile, fantastic hybrid UI controls, but hybrid sometimes has limitation in terms of what you're trying to do, right? If you need a native experience, well, hybrid cannot give you that. So hybrid is okay for simple line of business applications where you just are showing a bunch of lists, and you click on a list, you go to a item, and then in the item you just do a data entry and then come back. Yeah, that's fine, but you cannot do any other animation or anything, because you don't get 60 frames per second on a hybrid solution. You need native for that. So that's what we do. We give you native UI, but you do not have to learn Java, you do not have to learn iOS. All you need to know is JavaScript or TypeScript. TypeScript is my personal favorite. So today's webinar, I'm going to be using TypeScript as a language, and then start with that. Well, where do you start? Just go to our documentation, and in the documentation we'll let you know how to install it. So if you see here, there's an installation section, and we have installation guides for Windows, OS X, or now it's called as Mac OS, and Linux. So in Windows, let me show you what you need. Well, basically you need to have Node.js on your on your laptop, desktop, or whatever development environment. Then you need JDK 8 on your machine. That's the latest Java development kit. You need Android SDK 22 or later. You need Android SDK build tools. Well, Genymotion is optional. What I'm doing is I'm using fantastic. Oh, what happened to my? Hang on. I'm having problem with my. I'm not sure if you guys are able to see this. I have a. Just give me a second. So I have a Android Visual Studio emulator for Android. This is from Microsoft. So let me try to reopen this. Looks like GoToMeeting has kind of made it inactive. So let me quickly open this up. And in the meantime, let me see if there are any questions. Okay, I think we're good. So let me bring up Android Visual Studio emulator for from Microsoft. So Visual Studio emulator for Android. So So I'm going to select the 5-inch Marshmallow XHTPI phone, and let's hope I'm going to get it clean now, because what happened was, looks like GoToMeeting just yeah, even still I have that problem. As you can see, I do not see the Chrome on the top and the bottom. It's going to be a little difficult for me now. Let me see if I have my device running. I'll try to hook up a device, because what is happening is I cannot move the emulator now. I will have to let the Android team in Microsoft that this is something issue. Okay, so I have my device, so let me hook up my device. Just give me a second. Sorry about this, I should have seen this before. Yeah, I cannot move the emulator now because I cannot see the Chrome on top, so that's what's happening. So I'm gonna kill this, and what we're gonna do is I have my device plugged in, so let me show you my device. So here is Visor, that's what we use for mirroring the Android on a Windows. Here you go. So we should get my system anytime. Yeah, there we go. So we have, yeah, that's my system. So okay, we're going to use the directly deploy it onto the system. There's a question, so let me address it. So question is, you mentioned if one knows JavaScript or Angular or TypeScript, you can develop native apps. What is the learning curve for each of them? Well, nothing. If you know JavaScript, it's the same code that you write here, except that there are certain semantics that you will need to know. The UI is in XML format. That's what I'm going to do now. And if you know Angular 2, so we support Angular 2. All the semantic syntax of Angular 2 is supported. Only thing will be the UI is um, it's going to be NativeScript. That's it. So with TypeScript, what happens is I do not have to write JavaScript, but rather I'm writing a superset of JavaScript called as TypeScript, and it lets me build a class. It lets me build an interface. All those things I can do with TypeScript. So that's why I pretty much program with TypeScript. So let's get started. I've already done all these things that I'm showcasing you here: Node.js, JDK, Android, build tools, everything has been installed. I'm not using Genymotion as I have a physical device with me. If you want, you can put Genymotion, but Genymotion on a Windows is little flaky, because they run on VirtualBox, and VirtualBox is not supported on Windows 10. You'll need to turn off Hyper. There are a lot of things are available. That is why I use the Microsoft emulator for Visual Studio emulator for Android. Fantastic on a Windows machine. It runs fast on a Windows machine. It's good to say TypeScript is taking over on the JavaScript. I would not put out that claim that TypeScript is taking over JavaScript. TypeScript is just a superset, and nobody understands TypeScript, by the way. TypeScript has to be compiled down to JavaScript version, the ECMAScript 5 version. That's the standard of JavaScript currently that is there. Everybody understands ECMAScript 5. Well, ES6 is on the way. When ES6 comes out, well, TypeScript can be compiled to ES6. You can compile now itself to ES6, but none of the browsers support ES6 now fully. So what TypeScript does is, there is a compiler, and you write the TypeScript code. You tell the TypeScript compiler that please compile this to ES5 or ECMAScript 5, and it will do all the things for you. And there's no class, there is no interface, there is no generics in ES5. It's a plain JavaScript. But TypeScript, that's the syntactical sugar it adds. It lets you build as if like you're building it in, writing the code in a C# or Java. I come from C# world, the object-oriented world. So it's much more easier for me to grasp TypeScript, because, well, I know how to create a class. I know how to create a public methods. I know how to create a private method. So that's what TypeScript provides you. So I've already done all these things, and then we also have instruction how to install each one of them, and then all those things. Finally, how do you get NativeScript is by doing this command on a command prompt: npm install -g. -g stands for globally in my machine. and NativeScript. It's an NPM module, so it's available on the NPM registry, and then that's it. So now when I go to a command prompt here, so this is my command prompt, and in the command prompt, if I go and then say TNS doctor, it's going to go look for so TNS is a short form for Telerik NativeScript, and it's going to go look out for is TNS installed correctly, the NativeScript is installed correctly or not, and come back and then say like, hey, yeah, you have everything correct, so you can go on, and something like that. So it's now checking a couple of stuff, where is NativeScript, all those things, and we should just get back a couple of messages. As you can see here, you can develop for iOS only on Mac OS X system. To be able to work with iOS devices, and it says, well, you have all these things. NativeScript 2.3, TNS Android is our core module for supporting Android, so it says 2.3.0. Oh, we already have released 2.4. Well, that's okay. I'm going to update it later just before the webinar, so I'm still on 2.3. Looks like the team has released one either yesterday or day before, so that's fine. So I'm on TNS 2.3 now. In order to check your version, you can always say TNS -- version, and it will say 2.3.0. That's where I am. Now let's see how to create a new NativeScript mobile application. So here's my command prompt. So I'm going to say TNS create SF app, so Sitefinity app, and then -tsc. So basically I'm using the TNS create command. So create is the command, SF app is the name of the application, and -tsc tells NativeScript command line to use basically the TypeScript template for the code. So now I'm going to go ahead and then click on enter. It will try to get all the npm modules that is required to scaffold this new project, and then we'll wait for it to finish scaffolding. Now we see that the scaffolding has been finished. It has gone ahead and then got some npm modules, and then as you can see here, it has brought the TypeScript compiler because I said I need a TypeScript a template. So next up, what we're going to do is open up and then take a look at basically how the app is, what the code it contains, everything. So let me do a cd into sf app, and so I'm going to use a text editor called as Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code is fantastic for a text editor, especially when working with JavaScript based workloads. So I've already installed Visual Studio Code on my machine. You can always go to Microsoft website and then search for Visual Studio Code, download it. It's open source and runs on cross-platform. So since I've installed Visual Studio Code, I'm able to say code and dot. So dot means current directory. So I'm saying like, open up current directory in Visual Studio Code. So what Visual Studio Code does is it treats the current folder as a project and then opens it up in the project navigator, and you will be able to take a look at all the files, folders from there. So let me do code dot, and we'll wait for Visual Studio Code to come up. So here is Visual Studio. As you can see, it has scaffolded the Telerik NativeScript command, create command has scaffolded the application for us. We have an app folder, hooks folder, node modules, platforms, package.json, tsconfig.json, everything. Before we can start working with it, what we will need to do is we'll need to add a platform. So we will have to say TNS platform add Android. Basically I'm saying that for this current application I want to support Android platform. Since I already have the Android prerequisite, so what this command is going to go do is go get some build related stuff from the Android SDK. So let me go ahead and then do TNS platform add Android. It's going to go ahead and then start bringing in a lot of stuff. Let's take a look at the code now. So everything starts from app.ts file here in NativeScript. So I'm opening up the app.ts file, and as you can see here, here's the app.ts file. Sorry about that. So in the app.ts file, an application will call the start method of the application and we provide a module name. The main hyphen page is nothing but we are telling native to figure out a page which has an extension of .xml. So NativeScript works based on conventions rather than configuration. So main hyphen page .xml is what it will look for now. So now let's take a look at the main page .xml. Here's the main page. The root node is a page module. So this is a NativeScript module. The page supports a couple of lifecycle events like navigating to, loaded, and all those things. So what we are doing is we are listening to navigating to event, and then we will handle it in this event handler called as navigating to. We'll take a look at where it is. Then we have a stack layout as the root layout of the page. So every page needs a root layout. We support bunch of layouts like grid layout and stack layout, absolute layout, dock layout, you name it. So stack layout stacks its childrens. In this case, we have three childrens here. So one is a label, another one is button, another one is also a label. This label has a text called as tap the button. Then this is how you apply styling to any controls in NativeScript. You write CSS classes. So that's what the app.css file is all about. It has all the CSS class for your application. Then button, it has a text called as tap, and then it exposes an event called as tap. So we are listening to the tap event, and it will be handled by this on tap method. And notice this syntax, double curly brace. So this is called as data binding expression, and this is basically saying that at runtime the page will have a data binding context, and on the context there will be a method called as on tap. So bind to that particular method. And similarly, this label has a message property, and then we have bound that message property from the data binding context to the text property of the label. This has a CSS class called as message, and then text wrap is equal to true, meaning wrap the text if it overflows. And let's take a look at now main page.ts. So basically this is like a code behind for main page. So when main page is called, NativeScript is going to look for this main page.xml and main page.ts. Remember the navigating to. So here is the function that we have written, and we get hold of the current page. And here is my view model. So this is using the MVVM pattern. So all business logic is kept inside this hello world model, and hello world model is available or is created inside this main view model. So next, let's create a take a look at the main view model. So here's the main view model. I import observable from the observable module. Then I say create a class called as hello world model extending observable. So this syntax, class, extends, is what TypeScript provides you. These are the syntactical sugars that TypeScript provides, and I like this because I come from a C# background, so object oriented world. So this is more closer to me in terms of creating the code, and hence I tend to create most of the things in TypeScript. So inside hello world model we have a counter, a message, private variables, then constructor, we're calling the base class constructor. Then we are setting the counter to typically this will be set to 42. So I've gone ahead and then set it to 5 because I don't want to click 42 times. And then we have an update message, a helper function. This is the getter and setters, or the public properties as we call it. So you can get and then you can set from outside world. Then here is the on tap method that we had seen. So basically this is decrementing the counter and then calls the update message. The update message, all it does is it looks for the counter. If it is 0 or less than 0 or equal to 0, it will say you unlock the NativeScript clicker achievement. Otherwise it will say so and so taps left. Right, so this is how the code. The next step is to run this and then deploy it onto your device. So let's do that. So here's my Nexus tablet. I've used a mirroring plugin to mirror my Nexus tablet. As you can see here, this is my Nexus tablet, and I'm going to go back to the command prompt here, and then all we need to do now is to call tns run. So basically if you just want to build an APK, you can call tns build and then say Android. It will build the package. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say tns run Android. Or first let's figure out if our device is detected or not. You can use tns device command. It will go ahead and then actually look for any connected device and then give you some information as to what identifier is that and all those things. So as you can see here, it has detected that I have one device attached. It's an Android, and it has given the number 1. So now I can say tns run Android hyphen hyphen device 1. So what this is going to do is take the code, build an APK out of it, and then run it on the Nexus 7 tablet. So we wait for the build to finish. Typically it takes for the first time, that is this is the first time that I'm doing a build, so it's going to be a little longer, like 1 minute to 2 minutes, but the subsequent build will be doing very fast. It could be an incremental build from now onwards, but since this is the first time we are building it, it's going to take at least a minute to 2 minutes to prepare the APK and everything. So the project is successfully built now, meaning the APK has been built, and what it is going to do now is to deploy this onto the device that we set. So it's going to come up any moment and say, like, successfully deployed the application onto the device with identifiers so and so. So let's give it a couple of more seconds. As I said, the total build, that is the APK generation, takes around 2 minutes 23 seconds. So it's going to vary depending on your laptops or desktop that you have. But it's going to be, first time is going to be this much because it has to do the complete build from scratch. Anything onwards now, like, if you're doing some changes and then you want to quickly change it, so it's going to do incremental builds. And you can see on my device, we see a splash screen called as NativeScript. So the application has been deployed onto the device. So the TNS run will do the generation and then push it onto this one. So I'm going to start clicking on the button, and as you can see here, it says, hooray, you unlock the NativeScript clicker achievement. What you're seeing here is not a web view or is not an HTML file. It's actually the native Android activity or the native Android screen that has come up. The label is a native Android label, the button is a native Android button, and again the labels what you see and the action bar that you see. So this is what NativeScript is all about, creating native mobile application using JavaScript. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to change this whole code to go get the data from our Sitefinity API that we have, and it's a news items that we're going to get, and then create a list view here, and then get the list view to be, the list view, bind it to the items that come from the API, and we'll show the news item. So let's get doing that. I'm back into Visual Studio Code, and here is our view model page. What we're going to do now here is I will remove all this default code that was already created for us because we don't need this. So I'm going to keep this one. I will remove the on tab. I'll remove the update message. We don't need these. Instead, what I'm going to create is I will say private underscore is busy, and it will be a boolean. We'll set it to false. Then we'll create a private underscore items, and this will be an array of any, and by default we're going to create an empty array. So here what I'm going to do is so I'm going to say is busy, and this will be a boolean, and So I just created an is busy property here. Oh, I already created, so it's kind of cribbing, so I'm gonna remove that. And so I'm gonna make this as a capital, and we need to say this dot notify property change, and the property name is busy, and the new value is v. So basically the property change is a feature of observable module. Basically what is happening is if somebody is bound to is busy property and the property change from the model side, the mechanism will kind of fire up a property change event, and then whoever is listening or whoever is bound to this property will get an update saying like, hey, you need to go repaint your UI. So that's how the changes will be reflected in the UI. So now let's create for items. So in this case I'm going to say items, and this will be array of any. So this is items, this is capital items, and the v will be this, and then here it is underscore items, and here we'll say capital I, and that's it. So now we have created two properties that we'll see where we'll use it in the UI. Basically now what's left is to write a function to get the data itself. So I'm going to say public get items, and here what I need is an HTTP module. For that I will import a cross-platform HTTP module that we provide in NativeScript. I'm going to say star as HTTP from HTTP module. So basically I just imported a module now, and in the get items what we will be able to do is first we need to get the let's say I will say let URL is equal to, let's go to our API and copy this. So that's the API that I'm pinging. So I will say http dot get JSON, and we need to provide the URL, and we'll say dot then. So the response that's going to come back will be an any, meaning at this moment I don't have a type for that. At runtime he's going to get the shape. So this inside this is where we'll do all we need to do is we'll say this dot items is equal to response dot value, because that's how our API is sending it. And let's say there's an error, so what we can do is we can say if any, and we'll say console dot log e dot message. Well, of course, maybe in a real world production scenario what you will do is you will show a maybe a dialogue, an alert box kind of a dialogue where you say like, hey, there's an error, we couldn't get the data. So okay, so now one more thing that we need to take care is let's set is busy to true here, and once we got the value we can say our there's no finally here. I've come from C# world, so um, this dot is busy is equal to false, and the same thing here. Okay, now we are set with the main view model. So what we will need to do is to take care of main page.ts. So in the main page.ts, what I'm going to do is I'll create a local variable called as let VM, and then I will say new hello world model. And here in the page.binding context, what I'm going to do is I will say binding context is equal to VM, and I will initiate the get items. Okay, there you go. So now what's left out for us is to actually design the main page.xml, where now currently whatever we have, we'll remove all these things, and then we'll bring in a list view and an activity indicator. So I'm going to remove all these items that we had previously, so the label, button, all those things. Instead I will use the list view here, and then here all we need to do is, this is the data binding expression, and then I'm saying that at runtime in the data binding context you will have an items property, so bind to that. So remember, we created an items in the view model, and we also support loaded, item loading, item tap events on the list view. So if you want to trap it, you can, but in this example I'm not going to do that. So now what I'm going to do is create a grid layout, and it's going to be not 3 by 3 but rather 3 by 1, meaning I will have 3 rows with 1 column, and these guys will be auto, meaning they will take whatever size they can. And now all I need to do is bring in my item. So I will say ns label. So here we're going to say the label, this label is going to get the title, and this will be row is equal to 0. The first row, it starts with 0 index, and then I'll paste a couple of more things. So here I will get publication date, and this will be author. So I have all these fields in the data. So I'm gonna do this. Now after the list view, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place an activity indicator. Basically this is the spinner that you see, So this has a property called as busy, and we can bind this to the is busy property that we have, so that spinner will come up only when we are doing some work, meaning doing a call. And then width is equal to, let's say I'm going to do it as 50, and height I'm going to say 50, right? That should be it. So now we are done with main page.xml. Only thing that's left is to now run this on the device and then see how it looks. Here is my command prompt, and then here's my device. So what I'm going to do is I will issue a command tns run live sync now. So the command is tns live sync android -- device 1, and I will also issue a watch command, or let's see, we're going to do the watch later. So now what's going to happen is it is supposed to just copy the changes that I've done and just deploy it onto the device. As you can see here, now it's basically doing the preparation to transfer the files, and it says project successfully prepared. and it says transferring project file. So that's what I said. So the live sync, what it does is copies the changes that we do in your source code and then directly deploys it onto the device. It doesn't do the complete APK building. So it says successfully transferred all files, and then as you can see now it says successfully synced application. There is the if you notice, the activity indicator did come up. That's because we went to the server and then tried to get the data. It was there until we were listening to the response. Once we got the response, notice now what we have is the data which has come back, and it says quantum photo contest. All the news items that are there on the Sitefinity app has come down. So next what we will do is we'll try to style it a little bit to make this look good, maybe a professional look and theme. Now it looks very, very bland. So we're gonna use what we call as NativeScript theme, and then we'll try to theme this now. So currently I am on NativeScript 2.3. So if you are on NativeScript 2.3, you will need to do that. But we have already released 2.4. In the 2.4, the theming is going to come out of the box, so you don't have to do anything specifically. So now what we will need to do is we will need to actually come in here and then say npm install NativeScript theme hyphen core, and then I will save this so that it's there in my package.json. So what it's going to do is, as you can see here, the NativeScript theme core has been installed onto my mission or on my project, sorry. So in the node modules, if you see, we have this NativeScript theme core, and there is a CSS folder, and we ship out of the box 13 themes that you get: ruby, sky, purple, orange, lime, lemon, gray, forest, core dark, core light, brown, blue, aqua, you name it. So these are the things that you get. So the way you use it is basically you will reference the files, the CSS files in your app.css. So next up we'll see how to do that. I'm in my app.css file now. I'm going to go to the first line and then I'll do an import statement. So all I'm saying is, hey, from the NativeScript theme core CSS ruby.css, I want that particular CSS file. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all the other things that were written by default. I'll come back to main page.xml. I will say class is equal to page, and also what I will do is I'll drop a action bar here so that I'll show you what I'm trying to do. ns action bar. So we don't need any of these buttons or anything. So I'm going to say the title as Sitefinity, or we'll say quantum news. This is the quantum site, so we'll say quantum news. Here what I can do is I can say class is equal to action bar, right? And we'll also apply the classes to the list view item that we have, the grid that we have, in all those things. So we're going to start adding classes for that. So for the list group, we have a class called as list group, and this particular grid layout that we have, it represents one item. So we have a class for this called as list group item, and then the first label that I have here, I want this to be an heading, meaning I want this to stand out from others. So we can say heading, and the other guys what I have, we can say these are just a item text, and we can come here and then say class is equal to list group item text. So I think we are done with everything. So next up what we're going to do is to go back to the command prompt and then bring up my tablet, and I'm going to do a clear screen, and then I will say TNS live sync Android -FN device 1. So now what it should do is it should pick up my changes. Basically, I've installed the theme, and also I've gone ahead, changed my CSS file to include the ruby.css, and I've changed the main page XML to include certain class files, and then we should see everything taking into effect now. So the action bar that I added, because I added that class called as action bar, now you will see the SF app, whatever you see here in big black bold, that will change to a theme color, which is in Ruby, it's going to be Ruby red, and then white font for the font color will be white, and the list itself is going to be easily padded, clearly padded. It will have a padding of 12 pixel to 20 pixel all around, and then you know right amount of padding everywhere, and then it will do that. So what it is doing now is, I think it's going to do a complete build, because we added the npm install of NativeScript theme core. So it is going to do a build now, complete build. So let's wait for the build to complete. As you can see here, it's going and then doing a lot of stuff. So the build is successful, and I think it's still waiting for, I think the APK generation might be done, and it's now waiting for to push it. No, the APK generation is happening now. As you can see here, successfully prepared plugin core modules, all those things, and then successfully prepared transferring project files. Let's wait for it to apply the changes. So it's going to transfer whatever we added now, and it says applying changes, and it's going to reboot the app, and there we go. We have the Ruby red on top, and then the list is neatly you're not able to see that clearly on the Nexus. The mirroring is not that great, but I'm watching this on my tablet, and then it looks fantastically clean, crisp. The right padding has been applied, the right font has been applied, the right boldness has been applied, and we just brought all the news items from our Sitefinity app, and we have kind of digitally transformed your website into a mobile app by making use of the web service. So this was just a quick introduction on how to use NativeScript, Sitefinity web service, and then build an app for yourself. So today we just wanted to give you a heads up on, if you are on Sitefinity as a content management system, you can digitize or do digital transformation of yourself by providing a native mobile application, because we have the technology for everything. Like we have the technology for content management system, we have the technology for native mobile app development cross-platform with JavaScript. That's NativeScript. So we wanted to showcase that this is the possibilities what we have with progress under one roof. You have everything that you can take care of. So I'm going to stop recording now and then get on to maybe Q&A, and then thank you very much for those of you who have been with us for this webinar, and if you're seeing this recording afterwards, so thank you very much, and we hope to see you again in our future webinars.